Hello. Thank you for joining with me your own Hatha class. It could be any time, any day, any place that we get to share together. The other day I was going through my own practice. And there was one of these poses. It was a low lunge pose that just felt so good. And instead of changing right away to the other, I held it a little longer and thinking about you. If there was a pose that we're in that I've directed to change, but it feels way too good, then as you know, you can just hit the pause button. I won't take it personally. And then when it's time to change and continue, then just push the play button and I will be back with you to continue our practice. So practice that I lead, but it's your own private practice. So ensure you get the most out of it that you can by caring for yourself. Now sitting tall, whichever way you choose, one shin crossed in front of the other, or tall. Lift your shoulders up. Close your eyes and descend down. At the start of our practice, as throughout our practice, the importance of your alignment. So as you sit tall and strong, ensure it's not stiff. Breath in, breath out. Breath in and breath out. And the pattern of your breath. On your in-breath, how does it feel in through your nose? You exhale a sigh and feeling the soft layers of tightness release. Your patterns of breath in to fill your body, allow yourself to almost surface at the beginning of our practice, and the sigh to release any tightness or busyness, to allow your focus just to yourself on your mat for your practice. Sitting straight and strong, shoulders soft. Take your left ear to your left shoulder, keeping your hands resting onto your thighs to ensure that each of them are grounded. There's no tilting through your hips, through your body, more the extension through the side of your neck, and just slowly descending ear to shoulder. Press your hands back onto your thighs, a little bit more direction to bring your head back up to center, and then drift over towards the right. Allowing your hands to be heavy but not tight, and finding that spot. Again, hands down to be rooted, but breath in to sit tall. And then again, left ear to left shoulder. And then perhaps your ear a little bit more towards the pit of your arm. Perhaps maybe your chin a little bit more towards your chest bone. Chin a little bit more towards your, into center. In the start of our practice, as we often do this pose, this is your practice. Finding the position of your head, the alignment, to find that tight spot that you can release. Holding the stillness and weight of your head, draw a full breath in. A sense of floating, breathing into those tight muscles. And to sigh on your exhale. Give a little bit more space through the tightness of your neck. Next in-breath, press your hands down to your thumb and your thighs and bring your head back up to center. Keep your eyes closed, but just softly move your shoulders. Just make sure there's no tightness has arrived. And then we'll change sides. Sit tall, neck long, and right here to your right shoulder. And then I would say it's a little bit of a journey to find the position of your head that has the most resistance to opening. And then finding that sweet spot that needs that release, settle. But settling into the stillness of this position, the importance of the movement of your breath. And the fullness of a breath in, breathing into every cell of your body. And sigh of an exhale to release that tightness. Allow your sigh of an exhale to be the same amount and volume of your in-breath. As you draw your next breath in, slowly draw your head back up to center and still. The only movement is your breath and your shoulders. Up, down, forward, back, circular. And then back to stillness. And softly open your eyes. I want you to lay down onto your mat. So lying onto your mat, draw your knees towards your chest. Just allow a little bit of rolling on your back, side to side. Now the first time we do this, I want you to place your hands on the back of your knees, almost a little bit of a knuckles, and rock side to side, just to ensure keeping that space. Back of your legs, in the space at the back of your knees, with the passiveness of your feet. And then place both of your feet. Now keep your knees bent, both of your feet down to the mat. Keeping your feet hip distance apart. At the same time, your knees hip distance apart. With your hands on your thighs, slide them away. So as your hands press your thighs away, notice a little bit more lengthening of your torso, more space between the top of your ribs and your lower ribs, your lower torso. Now, keeping that length, just take your hands and slide them up and down your thighs. Sometimes a little bit of movement of your fingers. From here, bring your knees together and your feet a little farther apart. So allow the settling, the resting of your right inner knee to your left inner knee. And bring your arms up to vertical. So your fingers pointing to the sky, yet your palms facing to each other. Again, shoulder distance apart. Allow the complete ease from your knees to your feet, the length of your thighs. Breath, I want you to take your arms behind your head. Perhaps your thumbs will reach to the floor or not. I want you to slightly take your hips off the mat so you can scoop your buttocks under. And then the settling. With your next breath in, bring your arms back up to vertical. Bring your palms together and down to heart center. A little bit of wiggling. So direct your hands back up to the sky, arms vertical, shoulder distance apart. Now I want you to take it a little bit farther apart, almost to create the letter V. A little bit of wiggling of your hips. So you've got that whole connection at the back of your hips. With your in-breath, take your arms back. outreach towards the mat, maybe a little bit more space. But still direct your fingers away, but your shoulders down. And then draw your arms back up to vertical. Bring your palms right to connection with your thumbs down to heart center. And then your hands back onto the mat. Now walk your feet together and your knees apart. So if this is just a little bit too much, you can take one of your firm blocks to place it to give a little bit of that support. Angle whichever it is. And then once you have that support of the opening of your hips, okay, so it's right in that place, your head settled down. Okay, so perhaps you don't need to use those firm blocks. Your practice what works best. So hands onto your thighs to press them away. And I want you to wiggle your toes to make sure the pads of your toes on your right foot is towards your left. And then lift your arms up to vertical. So as you reach your fingers up, I want the top of your arm bone to settle down. So you've got that connection. And this time what I want you to do is with your in-breath, open your arms directly towards the side. So you've got that lengthening and lowering. Lots of space. Pattern of the breath. In-breath, bring your arm back up to vertical. Palms to softly touch. Exhale, open. So as you're opening, it gives you more space to the front of your body and see if your inner thighs can relax as well. Again, lift up. Arms long, fingers long. And then again, the opening. And let's do it one more time. Lift up. And then once your arms are both vertical, place your hands, almost a hugging of your hands, your knuckles, and then just take your wrists and move some lovely big circular. No weight, no flex, just glide. And then take your hands back down onto the mat. And then draw your knees together. Then hug both of your knees in towards your chest. You can have your hands on the back of your knees or on towards your shin. And then just some big circles, taking of your knees side to side, forward and back. And then change direction. Once you come back to center, straighten both of your legs up towards the sky. So your hands can be on the back of your thighs or on towards the floor. And have your feet so that they're hip distance apart. We're going to go for a walk. So bend your right knee. And then as you straighten your right leg, bend your left knee. I want you to imagine if you're walking upstairs. So as you bend your left knee, or straighten your left knee, bend your right. And then just continue walking step by step. You can be directly feet, inner edges of feet side by side, or maybe a little bit more direction of heel to toe. It's almost like you're walking forward as you go up the steps. Now as in doing so, warming up of your torso, but ensure that you're keeping the back of your lower spine onto the floor. And then let's imagine that when we're going upstairs, there's a rail. So take your arms up to vertical. Imagine that you're holding onto the rail and continue walking up. Almost with each straightening the leg, you're pressing the ceiling away. And bending of your knee is making that motion. Continue. Nice little slow motion, but no weight. But at the same time as perhaps you've noticed you're using of your core to keep that lengthening. Anytime if this is a little, you're feeling a little more strained, you can always keep your hands again on the back of your thighs. And then once you're at the top of the stairs, bend your knees in towards your chest. And I want you to just rock side to side. Side to side. The rocking. Place both of your feet back down onto your mat, but I want you to keep your knees bent. From here, straighten your left leg. So the whole back of your left leg is down, but your right knee is bent. Now, take your right arm and extend it behind you. So as if you were standing on your left foot and reaching on your right and placing your left hand onto the mat. And you keep the warming up the core. So have a complete breath in, long. With your exhale, draw your left knee to your right elbow. Got the compression. So you tuck your chin in towards your chest. And breath in, lengthen. So your right arm is back, your left leg is straight and lowered. Do it again. All drawn together. So you can get your nose and your knee together. And then breathe in to lengthen. So again, you're breathing into every cell of your body, giving it space. And then your exhale, you can do it with a sigh to ensure the release. And let's do it 3 more times. Lengthen and shrink, drawing all together. And if this is enough, you can just keep yourselves in stillness. And we're continuing. And at the third complete movement, place your foot down, place your hands down, and just sway your knees side to side. Just giving a little bit of turning through the torso. And then let's change sides. So lower your right leg down, the whole back of your leg to your mat, and extend your left arm behind your head. Big breath in, and on your exhale, elbow and your knee together. Remember to keep your left knee bent, your foot on the ground. Again, lengthen. Gives a little bit of support by keeping your left knee bent, with compression of drawing your right knee towards your left elbow. It's the pattern of breath, movement of your body. 3 more times. And in those 3 more times, one of those 3 might be just resting onto the mat, or perhaps drawing your elbow and your knee a little closer together, maybe your nose to your knee. And at the end of your third exhale, allow your head to lower down, both knees bent, bring your knees together and your feet apart. Big breath, complete settle. And then walk your feet together. And I want you to roll over onto your right side to press yourselves into sitting upright. We're going to take yourselves right forward into table pose. So in table pose, as you know, a pose is familiar, sort of the foundation. We're just reminding with this pose, you have the option of keeping your fingers flared open or even onto your knuckles. So if you find with this table pose that your wrists start to get uncomfortable, then right now just go on towards your knuckles. Okay. And just sway your hips side to side. A little bit of movement through your spine. So come back to center and neutral. Eyes closed. And a few cat and cow. So with your in-breath, lengthening the front of your body, breathing into the whole front surface of your body. And your exhale, releasing by your belly to your spine, allowing that lengthening of the back of your spine. And find that movement. So as you know, the importance of not lowering your tummy too low down. Too much rounding of your back. Enjoying the movement of your spine without feeling the strain. And then bring yourselves back to level and neutral. Take your left leg and lift it up so that it's horizontal. Okay, so just peeking back to make sure your toes are pointed down. Sometimes when they're to the side, one hip is higher than the other, so you want that real neutral. At the same time, taking your belly back to your spine so you have that horizontalness. Now, keep your legs lifted, but I want you to bend your left knee to take your heel towards your buttocks. Extend and straighten. Make sure your belly is level like your spine. And again, heel towards your buttocks. Sort of allows that, continue with the pattern, the strength through your hamstrings, which are often quite tight. And this just is reminding with the subtle movement, it's the complete awareness. Now, the next time your leg is straight, lower it down so the ball of your foot is down and your heel is moving back. Just the initial stretch. So onto your knuckles, you have the option perhaps of placing your palms down and farther ahead so there's less stress onto your wrists, or you can stay on towards your knuckles. So as your hands press onto the mat and away, your ball of your foot presses down and your heel reaches back. And then we'll change sides. Lower your knee down. Again, sway your hips side to side. And then back to center. So lift your right leg up. So again, it's horizontal. Hips are neutral. Leg is strong. Sometimes the knee drops down a little bit. Imagine that you're sitting onto the floor, so it's horizontal. And then look down. Keep your leg long with your in-breath. And on your exhale, bend your knee and take your right heel towards your right buttock. A little bit of a squeeze. And the pattern of the movement with your breath. So as you know, your in-breath is the straightening of your legs, keeping it strong. And your exhale, shortening the back of your leg, but still lengthening the front of your thighs. So it's sort of the pattern. Movement with your breath and strength through ease. And the next time your leg is straight, place the ball of your foot down and stretch your right calf. So again, moving your hands a little farther forward into palms or staying onto your knuckles. It's like you're pressing the front of your mat so far forward. And in doing so, it's if your foot will slide right off the back. Don't let it, but giving that lovely lengthening. And then bring yourselves back to center. And take your firm blocks in front of you. We're going to go into, as you know, a short downward facing dog. Just to start. So in our first downward facing dog, walk your knees a little closer. So as you know, in downward dog, the closer your feet are towards your hands, the less pressure or less weight onto your hands. So tuck your toes under. Press your firm blocks down to lift your knees up and travel back into downward facing dog. So if it's better, you can even come a little farther forward. Maybe even have your firm blocks on its side. Your knees don't have to be straight. Allow just a little bit of a soft bending. And then actually let's all go for a walk. So bending of your right knee, bending of your left. And again, choosing the length between your toes and your wrists of the lovely Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And then take it into stillness. I want you to be directing the back of your legs farther away. But in doing so, your torso towards your thighs. Big breath in. Breath out. And then just stroll to the front of the mat. So staying folded forward, Eventually fold it forward at the front of the mat. You can walk your firm blocks with you. Take your feet just a little bit wider than hip distance apart and hold onto opposite elbow and just allow the lovely swing side to side. Not just the twisting through your torso, but the movement side to side. You place your hands onto your hips and hinge yourselves to standing upright. Not too fast. You don't want to get too dizzy. And keep your feet a little farther apart. And then sit tall. So lift your shoulders up. Allow your body to be straight. Shoulders down to make sure it's not stiff. I'll do it again. Lift your shoulders up strong. And exhale long. With your next in-breath, extend your arms to the side and lifting right up to vertical. Union of your palms together and slide them down to heart center. And then walk your feet together so that they're hip distance apart. As before, in-breath, arms out, lifting up to vertical. Union of your palms together and slide down to heart center. And then perhaps walking your feet together so the inner edges of your feet, calves, knees are connected. If the balance isn't 100% there, you can still keep them hip distance apart. So as before, in breath, arms out, all the way up to vertical, palms together and down to heart center. And holding them together at heart center, your thumbs into your chest bone, eyes closed. So it's a union of all together into neutral, central, and stillness. Now not stiff and tight, but with ease and alignment. With your next in-breath, keep your palms together, but lift them up right to the sky. And when your arms are vertical, take your feet so that they're hip distance apart. And we're going to swan dive down. Spine long as you hinge forward and down. And hold on to your opposite elbow with the swing side to side. And then release. We're going to go back to downward dog. So you can have the firm blocks or not, whichever you choose. Whichever way, hands down and then feet back, again into the downward facing dog. Now you just sway your heels side to side. And also deciding on the length of downward dog. Your feet can be a little farther forward, a little farther back. But allowing your head to hang, look between your ankles as they sway side to side. And then when back to center, you're going to go down into child's pose. So bend your knees, place them onto your mat, untuck your toes, and settle down. So with these firm blocks, your head can rest onto the firm block, whichever height, and your arms in the position of rest. It can be forward, elbows can be bent. Sort of find that position for there's the melting down into child's pose. And child's pose is a pose that we do throughout our practices, all of them, for a real release. So I want you to breathe into the back of your body. Exhale with a sigh. Allowing the softness of your shoulders, the inner edges of your shoulder blades almost sliding away from your spine and keeping that space for your breath in. So breathing into the back of your lungs, allowing not just filling of your belly, but breathing into the broadness and space and all those muscles along your back. As you draw your next breath in, bring yourselves back up into table pose. And have your firm blocks, have it onto vertical. Just makes it a little easier of stepping. So step your left foot forward. Okay. So the higher the firm blocks, the more ease of taking it forward. So as you know, the initial alignment is the verticalness of your front shin. So often what happens is our knee is a little farther forward. We want to ensure that it's directly from knee down towards heel. And then I want you to walk your front foot a little farther forward. So there'll be an angle on the shin. And then your knee following. So bending of your front knee so that it's vertical. Even have a little look down. Now, if it's too much, you can take a little tiptoe back. Find that position. A little bit more opening hip flexors. Hands onto firm blocks. And then your toes are pointed forward. The top of your back foot is settled. I want you to drape your body over your thighs. And in doing so, your head a little farther forward. And then smoothing out, extending. Imagine you put a little bit more elasticity into your right hip flexor. And head to hang. Allow your head to be heavy. To keep the extension along the back of your neck. Sort of the resting, the settling of your torso onto your thigh sort of feeds into the softness of your hip flexor, your right hip flexor. Keeping it open. Press your firm blocks down to bring yourselves back up. And then I want you to bring your front foot a little farther back. Okay. And then with your firm blocks, to give you assistance, lift your knee up and just step forward to the front of the mat. And then as you're folded forward, keep your hands on your firm blocks, go for a bit of a walk, just as we do in downward facing dog. So when you come back to stillness, I want you to step this time your left foot back and lower your left knee down. And then untuck your toes so there's weight onto the back, top of your back foot. And then as you know, front toes walk farther forward, knee to follow. And even in this position, you're farther forward, you can see, you can make sure that your knee is above your heel. Long, and then lower down. Head heavy. And any little adjustments you choose to do, make sure your hip flexor is allowing that opening without the strain, but still allow that opening. So as you know, one side can be a little bit easier than the other. So being into that position that gives the opening. Head heavy. And draw a complete breath in. And a sigh, a complete exhale out. The firm blocks are there, just a little bit more support for the alignment. At the same time, not as much weight onto your thigh, even though the weight of your body is heavy. We're going to change. If this is way too good, you can hit the pause button. Or if you're ready to change, just draw your front foot, your right foot back into table pose and shake your hips side to side. Okay. So this time, take your right foot forward. So we'd already been here before. And just straighten your front leg. Take yourselves through the very familiar pose. So with this one, I want you to actually wiggle your front heel a little farther forward. And then the support of your hands down onto your firm blocks. Slide it back. So it's almost like you're consciously plugging the top of your thigh bone into your hip socket. Firm blocks, whichever height. So steering of your toes towards your shins. Okay. Again, your head is heavy. I want your arms to be straight and strong, but your head to be heavy and your back soft. So into this pose, I want you on your in-breath to take your little toe down towards the mat. So you're opening of your inner thigh. And then on your exhale, bring yourselves back to center. So your toes up to the sky, hips neutral. And then again, in breath, opening, more space. And then exhale back to center. That slow initial movement, thigh bone to hip socket. And then again, open, but this time we're going to stay open. So giving yourselves the opening without feeling any strain into your knee. You might even need a little bit of bending of your knee, sort of find that position for that opening. And the settling. Yes, the sense is from your front knee is ascending to the top of your hip. But then from your knee, the descending down towards your heel. So it's not the vertical ascending, descending. It's at an angle. Almost allowing your leg to be a little bit longer, like you're lengthening at your knee. So bring yourselves back to central and neutral. Bend your front knee to place your foot down. Take your firm blocks, whichever height. As you tuck your back toes under, lift your knee up, another step or hop forward to the front of the mat. And then bend opposite knees. This is what we often do in downward dog. And then back to center, and we'll change sides. So this time, step your right foot back. Give that big long step and lower your knee down. And untuck your toes. So tiptoe, your front toes forward, and then straightening of your leg, taking your toes towards your shins. So having a firm block at whichever height for that support. And again, top of your thigh bone, plug it back. Hips are neutral. So often we lose that neutralizing of the hips, and it's so important to allow that lengthening and extending through the back of your hamstring. A couple of muscles in your hamstrings, the belly of the hamstrings, allow that to open. But with the straightness of it, it allows that ascending through your spine as well. Head heavy, and enjoy. And keep your breath full. Shoulders soft. Allow the ease sliding from the back of your neck, traveling through the back of your shoulders, back of your torso, allowing the ease across the back of your hips, and almost continue to travel down the back of your extended leg. And then let's tick-tock. So taking your left little toe towards the mat, and then back up to center. It might be a little bit tighter than the other side, that's okay. But with your in-breath, the opening, whatever bending of your knee as need be, and then back to center. And this isn't a pose, as with any, or a position of an achievement. How close can my little toe get towards the mat? Well, if it can, I'm concerned. Your hip is probably be disconnected by then. And then the next time your little toe is towards the mat, just hold it from there. But imagine there's a strap drawing your hips back and the crown of your head forward. So it's a mirror of the lengthening of the back of your extended front leg with the lengthening of your torso. And enjoy. And turn your toes back up to center. Bring your firm blocks up to vertical if not already. Keeping your front knee, just step your foot back so that it's vertical. So you're into almost like a zigzag. And tuck your back toes under. Lift your knee up and bring your feet so that their hip distance apart. So you'll be in the middle of your mat. And as you fold forward, give your calves a little bit of a massage. So just that tightness at even your shins. We always forget about our shins. We're always thinking the tightness of the calves, the importance of the softness, but also the strength through the front and the back of our lower leg. And I want you to softly bend your knees. And we're going to swan dive up. So in breath, take your arms out to the side. And as you lift your arms up, straighten your body right up to tall. Lifting your fingers, eventually your palms together, and down to heart center. And your arms down, eyes staying closed, into Tadasana. And how does it feel from at the start of the class? Feet rooted, legs long, and lifting of your spine, but the descending of your tailbone. All four sides of your neck are long and ease. As you know, your palms are just slightly turned forward. In doing so, your shoulders are soft. And then just listen to your breath. And on your next in-breath, breathing in, open of your eyes. I'm going to get you to turn to face the side of the mat with your legs apart. We're going to go into a warrior two. So have your two firm blocks in front of you for the support when we're going to be doing the forward fold. So now just a little bit about warrior two. Sort of find the distance. A full warrior two is your legs are actually quite far apart, but find that position that with the pivoting, you're able to have your front knee bent, but not past your ankle. So what am I talking about? Take your, let's go with your left foot and pivot it to the front of your mat, and then bending it a few times. Okay. So if it's quite uncomfortable, you can't hold your alignment, then bring your knee a little farther back. So find that position. And then you're drawing a line from your bent knee towards your front little toe, and then hold that position. Actually taking your front hand and sweeping your inner thigh to ensure that the knee has not collapsed in. You're keeping that broadness. And bring your arms out to horizontal. Turn your palms up. Now keep the stillness from your waist down. With your in-breath, lift your arms up to the sky. And looking towards the side to allow that equal lengthening both sides of your torso. And then lower your arms down. So turn your palms out, lower them down, and take your gaze just past your fingers to the front. So attention is a lengthening of the front arm. Remember about your back one. So I want your back arm to be as strong. Your back wrist should be almost above your back ankle. From here, take your back hand behind your back. So your right hand behind your back. Now keeping your hand onto your sacrum or wrapping it around. Okay. And settling a little bit more. Allow your shoulders to be broad and your chest open. And then we're going to go into goddess. So your extended arm, turn your palm up and lift it up to the sky. And keep it up to the vertical, maybe bent, or maybe your hand to the back of your head. Give a little bit more length through the side of your body. And then let's travel back into warrior two. Straighten your bent leg and turn your toes towards the side of the mat. Just bend your knees, just loosening up those tightness. And then we'll change sides. So this time, turning of your left foot out, bending of your knee, a little bit of movement, almost like the straightening of the line. So your knee is towards your little toe. And then turning of your torso towards the side of the mat. And again, we're just going to do a little bit of sweeping. Taking your hand to your inner thigh to ensure that you have the opening. Now your knee might not be right towards your ankle. Okay, I'm quite open to have it completely vertical. You can have a little bit of a leg lunge, but without having the collapse and keeping that broadness. Okay, doing so, extend your arms out so they're horizontal and strong. Keep, again, from your waist down still. As you turn your palms up and lift your arms to the sky, perhaps gazing to the side. Shoulders down, arms out, warrior two. Take your gaze just past your fingers. You can be gazing past your fingers, or maybe looking into your inner eyelids. I want you to take your back hand now behind your back, so your right hand behind your back, hand onto your sacrum or bind around. And then turn your palm up, so your front palm up, lift it to the sky and to Goddess, having the position of your hand. Now really care for your lower back. If it's a little bit too much, you can almost take your arm into a very soft C shape. And then let's fly back into Warrior Two, straightening of your leg and turning your toes forward. We're going to do a forward fold, so you can choose to keep your legs this far apart or maybe a little bit closer together. Firm blocks in front of you. Sweep your arms up high so your body is long and fly down. Your hands onto the firm blocks at whichever height. So sometimes taking into the high verticalness. No, maybe you want to have it a little lower down. And let's actually speed skate. It's just bending opposite knees just to give yourselves a little bit of a movement. And looking down, eventually bringing yourselves into stillness. Now, with your hands on your firm blocks, I want you to walk them a little farther forward. So they can be vertical, side, or lowest. Encouraging a little bit more lengthening. So even taking of your thighs back and your hands forward to give that more extension to your torso. I want you to keep your torso that long, but bring your hands back to be below your head to allow a little bit more ascending. Eyes closed and enjoy. Sort of blending together the length of your inner thighs, but also your hamstrings. Most tightness of the muscles in our legs tend to be hamstrings. Not necessarily the strongest muscles through your legs. It can be the tightest because so often our knees are bent and they're compressed. Bring yourselves upright. So you can travel, bringing the firm blocks back up to vertical. And walk your feet together. And as you're folded forward, still to the side of the mat, take your peace fingers and hold on to your big toes. So your knees bent as need be, but take your elbows out and the legs long. So you're trying to direct your torso towards your thighs. Head heavy, and give a little shake, 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 shake. Pulling up and pressing down. And then slide your fingers out. And placing your hands right onto the mat, I want you to take yourselves back down into child's pose. As you know, we've been doing lots of different variations of child's pose. So choosing the position of your hands. They can be forward. You have your palms turned up. Your head resting, fingers back or forward. Just settling down into child's pose with a few lovely sighs. Sighs are releasing any of the tightness. And sometimes it's nice even a little bit of a swing. The gliding and the support. And bring yourselves to center and to sitting upright. Now in sitting upright, I want you to extend your legs forward and have your firm blocks by the side. We're going to be opening a little bit, and it's nice to have the firm blocks for the support. So in doing so, I want you to scoop your right knee up and place the sole of your foot. So it might just be a little bit, depending on the back of your knees, a little farther in, having the firm blocks side by side. Now in sitting tall, a couple of things. Take your hands to pull your buttocks back, so you've got that. Or sometimes, if you just find a little bit more difficulty in having the verticalness of the spine, then you can even just sit onto a firm block, or a blanket or whatever you have, to give yourselves a little bit more of that lifting, to allow the ease of your hips to tilt forward. Now, place your fingertips down for the support. And as you press them down and back, it allows more lifting and verticalness. Let me do a little bit of movement. So I want you to keep your left leg still. I want you to open your knee towards the right. And then close it. Now ensure that the inner edges of your foot is towards your opposite inner calf. And again, opening. And then closing. And then opening and keep it open. So you can have the firm block underneath the back of your thigh to give a bit of support. If you're not familiar from the side, often we have the outer edges, the outer edges of the firm block into your knee. It's nice to have it a little bit of an angle, so you can't see it on this side, but having the angle, so opposed to it flat down and that sharp edge, but having it more a little bit of an angle. Okay, so you've got this forward folding. Lift your arms up to the sky and hinge yourself forward and down, your fingers to land. Now with your fingers down, take your shoulders back. So you're keeping that broadness, and this might be just plenty. Perhaps maybe your palms will be down, perhaps a little farther forward. Again, this is a pose. The pose, sometimes if we have it as a goal, how far over, what happens is you just tighten. So you end up by going into reverse opposed to forward. So finding that position, that your leg stays long but at ease, the bones, and keep the straightness. And enjoying whichever props that you have and choose to use. Allow your head to be heavy. But even though your head is dropping down, make sure your shoulders descend. So there's no sense of collapsing of your throat, more lengthening the back of your neck. And then walk your hands back to bring yourselves to sitting upright. Help with your knee to center, lower it down, a little patting the back of the knees, and we'll change sides. So this time, scoop up and then settle down. So again, you can have the firm blocks there for support if you choose. Now, as we've done before, press your fingers down, lift and lengthen your torso, almost like you're directing by your chest. So hold this position and slowly draw your knee into center. And then opening. So take your knee out towards the side, isolated movement, and then back to center. Open and close. And then with the opening, keep it open. So again, having the angle of the firm block to give you that support. Keep your fingers behind you and direct your chest forward, looking just past your fingers. Eventually, taking your hands by your side, whichever position for the comfort and the alignment. So even though you've got the back of your right leg down, I want it to still stay alert. So opposed to your foot limping to the side, remember to keeping it vertical. Taking your belly button in a little bit to give you the space. And the only thing you have to do is breathe. As you know, your breath allows the ease through the body and enjoying. Walk your hands back to bring yourselves to sitting upright. And then just have your blocks at the front corner of your mat. I've lost my front book. I'll take it to class. So we often go into, which we still will, into deer pose. But I'm going to show you a variation of going into pigeon pose. And if you tend to go into pigeon pose, you will. I'm just going to show you a different way to get into it. We're all going to first start in deer pose. So I want you to have your right shin to the front of the mat, your back, hand back. So in deer pose, to have that space between your front heel and your back knee, guarding that zigzag. And then have your firm blocks at the start. So as you know, with this alignment, it's going to be folded forward. So the importance of the firm blocks. You can explore going into pigeon pose by your front knee bending it a little more so that your toes are pointed towards your back knee, maybe even touching. Bending of the knee, not happy, then just take yourselves back into deer pose to fold forward. If this feels all right, tilt forward to extend your back leg and draw yourselves up. So as you're drawing yourselves up, make sure your right buttocks is not onto the mat. You've got that space. Okay. And long. And then slowly from here, with your firm blocks, you can have your firm blocks at whichever height, maybe on the highest height, the lower height, start to lower down. So with lowering down, I don't want the rounding of your back. I want it to be strong and smooth. Okay? An inch a little farther. And the settling. So into this pose, if it feels great, you're going to feel the opening of your right outer hip. But if you start to feel a little bit of a punching, bring yourselves back into deer pose. So just sort of exploring which one feels right. Make sure that the top of your extended back leg, shift your hip forward so it's more neutral. This might be plenty. Perhaps you can lower the firm blocks, maybe to vertical for your forehead to rest. Maybe a little further down. And enjoy. And so in deer pose, fold it over your front shin, either of the angle over towards the right, or maybe forward over your thigh. Different variation of the same pose, whichever one you are. Let the inner surface of your shoulder blades slide down the back of your ribs. And your breath. Allow your arms to be at ease. Your body is long. Your legs are at ease. And ensuring there's no pinching. Enjoying this pose of opening. And then just a reminder, which we all know, but a little reminder, is your breath. And find the rhythm of your breath. Rhythm so that you can absorb it. You can release. And not busy as we often are with all the things we have to do. We got lots of time. So just enjoy. And notice just the ease with your exhale, that those hidden layers of tightness can soften. Still the strength of your muscles, but taking away the tightness of them. Now, if you want to stay a little bit longer, you can click on pause. If you're ready to change, then to bring yourselves out, take your hip down to the side so that you can swing both of your legs forward and go into windshield wiping. Just putting that release in. And then we'll change sides. So take your opposite shin towards the front of that. So we're still first going to go into deer pose. So you're already there in case you need to go back. And then with your front foot, take it back towards your toes. Tilt forward so you can extend your leg behind you and bring yourselves up. So see, you've got that space between your torso and your thigh. That space almost enough to stick a block between the two. Or staying into deer pose. If you're in pigeon pose, ensure your body is long. And then melting down. And again, layer by layer. It might be plenty just with your forehead resting onto the top of a vertical block, maybe a little higher. Neutralizing your hips. And slowly descending down towards your mat. And feeling that lovely ease. A pose of release, not a pose of how far down to lower, how much more of ease, but feeling the sweetness of the stretch. Layer and layer of tightness. And as you're ready, stay as you are and just have a complete breath in. Allow your body to expand. Sigh upon your exhale. And then again, as you're ready to bring yourselves out of this pose, maybe windshield wiping for a little bit. Lowering your hip down, legs forward, hands back, and swaying side to side. As you guys know, juice back into the joints. I'll get you to lie down onto your back. Okay, have your firm blocks by your side. And lie down onto your back. So have your a blanket nearby. So Purvaya Shavasana, the blanket, I'll put it back here. The blanket is there. Place over you here if you want. Okay. If you have a pillow you want behind the back of your knees, or we might use the two firm blocks. Slowly lower your spine back down. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Give yourselves a little hug. You can sway side to side. And then place your feet down onto mat. Okay, and then draw your right knee into your chest. Hands behind the back of your leg and straighten your leg. So there might still be a little bit of bending. And you can have your hands behind the back of your upper thigh, if that's plenty. Working on the length of the back of your legs, perhaps holding a little bit higher, maybe towards your ankle, your calf, whichever way. But you're drawing your torso towards your thigh, and your thigh towards your torso. This makes more sense. Torso towards your thigh, and then the back of your body towards your mat. Eyes closed and settling into this position. So as you know, there's lots of choices. You can keep actually let's all just keep your opposite knee bent. And then a little bit, sometimes a little bit of bouncing, a little bit of buoyancy. Eventually taking back into stillness. So your hands are there to support. So make sure your thighs, your lifted legs, thighs are at ease. And just inviting. Keep your foot flexed. And then we'll change sides. So bending of your knee, placing your foot down, lift your opposite leg up. If you interweave your fingers, interweave them the funny way behind the back. Forgot about those. And again, finding that position for the support to encourage the lengthening of the front of your leg with the lengthening of the back. So there might be a little bit of a bend, okay, but really work on the extension. Hands supporting, fingers crossed funny, whichever way that it is. And in doing so, just notice how the lumbar part of your spine nicely settles down. Magnet back, fullness open. And again, a little bit of that buoyancy. Keeping your lifted legs, foot flexed. And then lower your leg down. Take your feet to the outer edge of your mat and your knees together. So just as we had done near the beginning, and take your arms out to the side. And again, a little bit of windshield waving. Ensure that your feet are on the outer edge of the mat with the movement. And then as you're ready, as your knees are over towards the left, keep them over towards the left. So caring for your left hip, it's quite an internal rotation. Keep it up a little higher if it's too much. Or if they're quite open, you can, as you know, rest one ankle on top of the opposite knee. Just really allow that length of your spine without a twisting. Often it's opposed with, oh, can I just take it a little bit further? And you're having that unnatural twisting of your lower back. So just have that ease of the back surface of your shoulders down, soft turning of your torso, and the different rotation through your hips. And then change sides. So draw your knees back up to center. And again, a little bit of swaying side to side. And as you're ready, both of your knees settle over towards the right. And whichever variation. And again, it'll be much different from one hip to the other. Deciding if maybe your knee needs to be a little higher down, lower, or ankle. And enjoy. Enjoy the stillness, the ease. Make sure your muscles and your buttocks aren't tight holding it. They're completely relaxed, taking the grippiness through your hip to allow the softness. And then back up to center, a little bit of swaying. Take yourselves from here into Shavasana. So if you have your two firm blocks, I want you to take them so that they run along the length of your mat, but a little bit more into a V. Just the position, so that you can have the back of your calves onto the firm blocks. So again, a little bit more space. And it gives a sense of almost a little bit of floating. And then lay down onto your back. And if you have a blanket, you can nicely drape the warmth of the blanket over your body. All of these little adjustments. So it's complete comfort for Shavasana. Back of your body, your blanket over you, maybe tucking in a little bit, and your arms rest by your side. So with your arms resting by your side, complete ease, just melting into space, like drifting away. Full breath in and complete breath out. Back of your head is settled. Your neck is long. Your chest is open. Your hips are at ease. Your knees are soft. Your feet are open. Breath in and breath out. Entering the stillness of Shavasana, your place, your time. Staying in Shavasana as long as you want. Ending of our practice together in Shavasana. Pattern of your breath, stillness of your body, ending of our practice, and the continuing of the rest of the day. Shavasana. Namaste.